Apparently there was not a threat involved. If they were hostile or aggressive, they would have been over a long time ago. Now, what was their purpose? Well, the study was not able to conclude that. It said that the military committee will continue this research, which indicated to me that the study in some form had continued, that this document in 64 was simply an initial conclusion.
Okay.
But when they concluded that there were 4 different extraterrestrial groups involved, and one of them was totally human, looked just like us, that was a big shock to the old traditional mindset of the military. Mm-hmm. The admirals and the generals, they couldn't deal with it.
And it also said that there was something to do with the religions, that all the religions of the world.
Well, let me tell you, the study was not that thorough. It was a beginning for me.
Okay.
It was the initiative, the initial event that triggered my curiosity. It launched me on 40 years of research. Mm-hmm. And much of what I've concluded has been a result of the years of study since. You see, I continued to dig. I continued to probe. I continued to turn over rocks. As I said, I drove my friends up the wall.
Okay, you looked at this material, you learned a lot, you weren't the only one, you've convinced me of that. Supposedly, these people that you know also read it, they weren't your close friends, I'm assuming.
Well, they were not my dearest, closest friends, no.
Okay, but were you able to talk to them or have relationships with them outside of, 1967? Did you ever compare notes?
We formed, back in those days, what we called the Old Boys Network. And this network was made up of people like myself, enlisted and commissioned, of all services, Air Force, Marines, Army, Navy, as I said, all ranks. Mm-hmm. There were others like me who were so engrossed by this and excited by it and what it meant. You hear a few of them coming out even today, those that are still alive, saying what I saw, what I learned, what I concluded, the reports I studied, the contacts that I knew happened. Some of them had contacts themselves.
Sure.
Personal contacts with some of these guys.
Okay, so
Phil Corso was an example. You familiar with who he was?
Absolutely.
I knew Phil fairly well. He and I were speakers at several conferences together. And in Italy, I got to know him pretty well. Phil shared with me things that he had happened to him. Not just what he had seen, but he had personal contact with an alien at White Sands. He was in charge of the security of the range one time. And something came in, the radar picked it up. He hopped in his car, went out to see what the hell it was. There is a UFO sitting on the ground. There's a guy standing beside it. And Corso walks over to him and says, what the hell are you, who are you, and where are you from, and why are you here? And this fellow says, I just came to talk. And Corso asked him, he says, well, are you with us or are you against us? Simple military type question, are you with me or are you against me? Mm-hmm. And the guy says, neither. We're neither for you or are we against you? And he had a conversation with this guy that lasted over an hour. And the guy says, please turn off your radar. It disturbs my control or my guidance system so I can leave. Corso went back to the shop or back to the headquarters, turned off the radar, and away he went. I got to know, through the Old Boys Network, dozens of guys like myself who were as excited and enthused about the thing as I was.
But they didn't become whistleblowers. What's the difference?
Some of them did. Some of them lost their commissions. Some of them lost their rank.
Can you name somebody? If they became a whistleblower, do I know them?
No. What
happened?
Many of them just retired and died.
Okay, so they tried to blow the whistle, but they didn't get known. They haven't lasted.
Let me explain something
that you have that allowed you to
I was one of the loudest loudmouths. And this is my nature. I retired as a command sergeant major. Mm-hmm. And that rank gives me the privilege to open my big yap to anybody. The generals, the admirals, and everybody in between. You see? It's a unique kind of rank to have.
I see.
The generals depend on you to tell them the truth.
Ah.
Whether they like it or not. And so you learn to tell them the truth. Well, I turned out to be a big mouth. I sat on this for, when did I come out of the closet, so to speak? Just term.
Right.
Yeah.
From 1967.
I sat on this until from 67 to 92 or 1. 91? I believe I came out of the closet in 91.
Okay. So that's a long time.
Yeah. I respected my oath, which I swore. Mm-hmm. I took an oath to never share anything that I learned of classified nature while I was on active duty. And I knew that if I did, I could go to prison for 10 years, $10,000 fine, forfeiture of all pay and allowances, retirement, everything, whatever, forever.
Okay, so you've come out. What happened to you?
So I came out in 91 at a conference in Tucson, Arizona.
All right.
The result was of monumental aggravation and frustration that the government had continued over all these years to lie to the people. Not only were they lying to the people, they were ruining lives to keep the lid on this subject. And I had enough of that.
Okay.
I had seen good friends of mine, guys who, they had said something to the wrong person at the wrong way at the wrong time, and they sent them to Iceland. You know?
They reassigned them?
They assigned them to Iceland without their families.
Ah.
A 3-year assignment in Iceland. That's like the Russians sending you to Siberia.
Okay.
And we have this in this country, the ability to do that. There are assignments here and there that, you know, I don't want to use the wrong term and embarrass you, but you've heard the term annus mundi? We have places on the earth where we have military bases, and if you send you there, everybody says, bye. We'll probably never hear from you again, you know.
Okay, but that didn't happen to you. Why?
No, it didn't. And
why
let
not?
me tell you
Do know
something.
Why?
The more I learned, the more aggravated I became. And at 91, I think it was, when I came out, Wendell Stevens is a good friend of mine, member of the Old Boys Network, retired lieutenant colonel, Air Force fighter pilot.
Okay.
Wendell is still alive down in Tucson. He and I were close for years. When I retired from the Army, I bought a house in Tucson, and lo and behold, I found I was right across the street from Stevens. Anyhow, he went to prison. And it was a trumped-up, fixed political deal. I always suspected it was because he had spoken out openly on the subject.
Okay.
Now, there were people who say no.